But so, yeah.
We have seen some comments that have been made at, I think one was, one very popular one is at the platform where former governor of Anambra State, Pt.5, said that monies given to governors, the security vote, is unconstitutional. That's what he said. Mr. Obi said this.
And I don't know when he said money given to governors.
He said it was a waste of resources.
But I said
so the question now that I'm pondering on is that if he says it is unconstitutional, that means it is actually being given.
I say, and he was governor, I wasn't, but I say that there is no money from, is it from a particular, is it a federal grant? No. There is no money given to states or governors, right? From any source, unless he's saying money given to him by his treasury, which he could have stopped. You understand? So I guess maybe he'd need to be more explicit because he hasn't said who gave. You understand? So it's rather ambiguous. Is there money given? Given by who? That's the question. The question is, that you should ask any person who talks about it perhaps next time is, where does the money come from and who gives it? And is it monthly and is it a fixed amount and is it equal to every state? That's all. Listen, the gentleman, unfortunately, who died in the helicopter crash, the NSA was asked the question 3-4 years ago, and he was specific. He said, there is nothing like a security vote. You have a vote under the budget. It's a budget head. So when you need to spend money, you have to go to get the approval of the chief executive, right? Who will, and if there's no money in the treasury, that's it. You can't manufacture it.
Wow.
So we have this misconception that there is a fixed monthly, you know, and that the governors just, you know, and no. When we were buying equipment for Lagos, we used state government money through the budget head, right? And then donor funds. There was no other money from anywhere.
Give us your impression about this argument making the rounds about the process of electing and impeaching a Senate president.
Well, it's pretty straightforward under Section 50 of the Constitution. Nobody is elected from his constituency as Senate president.
Yeah.
When the Senate is convened, everybody is equal. Then the senators, in their wisdom, by resolution, choose a person to preside over the what's the word now, activity for the period of 4 years. At the end of the period, right, the Senate stands dissolved and the Senate president vacates, so that in the next cycle they'll have a new Senate president if they so desire. Now, there are only 3 ways by which a Senate president can be removed under Section 50. The first is if he vacates the office, or sorry, if he ceases to occupy. That may be by way of, by way of, or speaker, even in the case of speaker, which may be by way of court order that he was not duly elected, or he decides to leave on health grounds, etc. So that's number 1. The second one, as I've already mentioned, is on dissolution of the House. And the third, and the one in issue now, is he can only be removed by a resolution of 2/3 of the members of the Senate. Now, question, because Nigeria is an experimental country, so we are we saying 2/3 of the members present at a particular time?
Yep.
But the Constitution, to me, is unequivocal. Of the members, that is everybody entitled to sit.
Every senator.
Every senator, 2/3. Now, those absent for reasons other than, say, suspension and that suspension thing, you know, the idea that the Constitution makes no provision for the suspension of any, this is rules. And people must understand that if you suspend the senator or House member, you're suspending his representation.
And
it's not contemplated. You are saying that if you suspend a man for 6 months, his constituency has no voice in the House of Rep for 6 months. We need to, you know, and the courts, I think, need to be a bit firm. So, as I say,
yeah.
2/3 majority resolution by members can remove a senator. The senators create the Senate president, they can remove him. However, it is traditional in, I don't like to say more mature democracies, because we've been at it now for nearly 20 years. So we should stop saying fledgling and all that rubbish. 20 years is enough. Normally, Senates, if you look at America, you find that their speakers, and in America, it's the speaker that's more powerful than the Senate president. The Senate president is just almost symbolic. There they have longevity, so that you can have legislative agenda, which you follow. Because that's really the role of the Senate president, not necessarily to give favors or appoint people onto committees. It's really to set the legislative agenda. And the current president, for instance, is the one pushing for state police, the consideration of it. My worry is that they do it properly, so we don't have conflict. But normally there's a level of longevity so that the House can sort of form a kind of way forward, a clear political and legislative direction. So that's it. Section 50. It's not rocket science. It's pretty straightforward in my view.
So all of those who argue that, well, the Constitution did not expressly say, because they argue that, well, if he was elected by simple majority, if he's going to be removed, he's going to be removed by those who are seated there, and not necessarily.
That's disingenuous. That's just typically Nigerian. The Constitution is not a prescription for anarchy. The Constitution is a clear document. It says 2/3 resolution by members. It didn't say members present. It said members. So if you purport to remove a man and say, well, although usually there are 100 senators, but today we could only find 60, and therefore it's 2/3 of 60, I'm sorry, that will be unconstitutional. But you know us. We can argue both sides of a moral question with conviction. You know, so that's just it, and that's politics. But at the end of the day, the courts will determine. The courts, eventually. And then that would be laid to rest, as it were. I mean, we've heard it. The courts have declared a lot of the former purported impeachment.
Yeah.
Now, again, I want to make the point that in relation to the removal of a Senate president, it does not amount to impeachment. And the Constitution does not use the word impeachment for that, because that's an internal affair. It uses impeachment for executives. Yes, executives. And because we must be careful, a man may be removed just on the basis of, oh, he's been there long enough, let him go. When you use the word impeachment, it carries a moral taint. So I think we should just say removal and not impeachment of the Senate president. Yes.
Well said indeed, and what a session. Thoroughly enjoy that, Mr.
Thank you.
Arthur-Worrey, former DPP and Solicitor General in Lagos. Thank you very much indeed.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, so there you go. We'll certainly be looking forward to having you back in the days ahead. But for now,
as long as I don't have to wake up so early.
well, what duty calls? What can we do? Let's toss it to Ajuri now. Ajuri.